Welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Hamill, and I am pumped that you are with me this week as we talk about the power and the value of questions. And again, we are highlighting some topics I covered in my book, The Life You're Meant to Lead, but this is the bonus material that you can't find in the book, so it's not a repeat. Make sure you pick that up. Make sure you look it up. And you can check that out on our website. But this week, we're talking about the power and value of questions. So let's get into it. Do you remember as a parent, you're raising a child and they just keep asking questions and won't quit? Why, Daddy? Why, Daddy? How come, Daddy? What about this, Daddy? Right? And they're just driving you crazy. And while that may drive you nuts as a parent, if you're not a parent, trust me, it's coming. That will happen. Those questions happen to be the most formative things that are in a child's brain because they are powerful. They're learning, they're discovering, their curiosity, and really they're becoming the person they're going to through the power of those questions. Now, what is it about questions that are so powerful? Now, I know the statement is there's no such thing as a stupid question or a dumb question, and in some regards, that's not fully true, right? Maybe a dumb question would be one that you already know the answer to, unless you're trying to help somebody else discover that. But really, the power of questions have a few benefits and results that I want to talk about today. And again, we cover this a little bit in the book, but this is the bonus stuff that I couldn't put in those pages. So make sure you pick that up. It's on Treebook or paperback. It's the audio version, also an ebook if you do Kindle or iBooks or whatever app you'd like to use there. But the power of questions. First and foremost, we need to understand the makeup of our own bodies and minds. And you've heard me talk about this in other episodes if you've caught those episodes, that our brains are built for assumptions, right? You've heard the thing about jumping to conclusions. And how come that happens, and how do we stop that from happening? The only way to stop us from jumping to conclusions is by asking questions. That's how powerful it is, that a question will literally stop our brain in its tracks, whether that's building frustration because we don't understand something, or it's building frustration because we think we understand something and we really don't, whether that's someone's motives or their reasoning or their intent behind their behavior or actions or attitudes, or whether it's about trying to uncover or unpack or understand a task or gizmo or gadget or technology. Our brain starts jumping to assumptions and conclusions on how things work or the why behind something. And the only way to kind of jolt our brain back into getting in a learning posture or the cultivated life posture is to force ourselves to ask more questions. Now, I know that this is not really intuitive, because whether you are talking to a teenager and you're like, hey, I was a teenager, so I know what your motives are. Really, the only way to stop that and to prevent you from getting argumentative is to go, wait, let's ask another question. Let's ask 3 more questions. Let's ask a round of questions. And then it will jolt your brain into going, oh, let's go to a learning and listening posture rather than an assumption or jumping to conclusion posture. And so that's really what asking questions do. Now, why does our brain do this? Honestly, and again, you heard me say this in another episode, it's because our brains are lazy. And by jumping to conclusions or by jumping to assumptions, it preserves energy, it preserves calories, and it just becomes more efficient if I can assume based off of either what my actions would be in the same situation or based off of something that happened to me previously. Let's just jump to that conclusion and let's skip the investigation and just get there already. It's faster, it's more efficient, and it doesn't take as much energy if I can just jump to that conclusion ahead of time. You know where we're the most guilty of jumping to that conclusion is watching a movie. And maybe perhaps you'll remember some movies back in the 90s, like the movie Signs, The Sixth Sense, even The Matrix, or Inception. These are all movies that are just kind of mind-bending, that if you watch them, you start jumping to conclusions. And then when you get to the conclusion, you're like, whoa, that totally trips my mind out, or a phrase I like to use, cooks my noodle, because it's not confirming what my brain is jumping to assumptions. Here's the other things that questions force us to do. We have this thing that we call cultivation. We call it confirmation bias. Confirmation bias, which basically means my brain has already determined what the answer is or what the conclusion is, and now I'm just building the facts that lead to that conclusion. That's confirmation bias. If I know you're a bad person, now my brain is just looking for the evidence of you being a bad person. I'm not even giving you the benefit of the doubt anymore. I'm not even looking for the good in you anymore. My brain is already determined and already assumes and already concluded that you're a bad person. Now it's just looking for the facts to back up that conclusion. That's confirmation bias. Another way of saying that is we will always get what we're looking for. If we buy a new product and we expect it to be cheap, as soon as something goes wrong, we'll say, see, that was a cheap product. I'm never buying this brand again or that brand again, or whatever the case is. And sometimes there really is cheap products. But whatever we've already jumped to the conclusion for, our brain is now simply just looking for the facts to back up that conclusion. And it confirms it again, and then it ingrains it for the next time. Where you see this a lot in our own personal lives is if you are in a habit of jumping from one bad relationship to another, and then to another, and to another. And what happens is your brain starts to think, oh, I can never have a good relationship. Oh, see, there's another bad relationship, because you're looking for the bad out of this relationship. All my friends abandon me. All my friends betray me. And then constantly, now your brain's just looking for that betrayal moment, because it's confirmation bias. Questions. Here's the value and the power of questions. The value of questions, the power of questions jolt our brain out of this assumption zone and out of this conclusion mentality, and says, wait a minute, there's more facts here I don't know. There's more things, more truths here to discover that I haven't heard or haven't seen or haven't uncovered yet. And so questions force that investigation mode, or awaken the curiosity mode. Unfortunately, as we quote unquote mature, going back to the beginning or the top of the show when I was talking about the curiosity of our kids, as we mature, what we tend to mean by maturity is losing curiosity. The cultivated life, the cultivated journey is all about cultivating the curiosity of life, the what if of life, the what's possible of life, that this relationship might not be the bad one. This is going to break the trend, or this friendship is going to break the trend, or this job is going to break the trend. Rather than allowing our minds to jump to conclusions, we need to ask more questions. That's the value. That's the power of questions. The inquisitive, the curiosity nature that it really is the core of who we are, but we put it to the side and we cover it up and we shelve it, right? Here's the thing. When we ask questions, it helps us to discover new possibilities and new opportunities, because now we've gotten out of the assumption mode that this is the best that it is. This is as good as it gets. And we look around and we go, oh, I'm always going to be in this zone. I'm always going to be in this place where there's never enough, or I'm never successful, or I'm never the person I want to be. When you get into the value and the power of questions, what you understand is more is possible. What if? What could be? What is out there for me? What is an opportunity I could seize, right? And that all happens. That's all awakened. That's all cultivated inside of us through the art, through the habit of asking questions. I remember one time in particular, I got a phone call about a job opportunity, and someone called me and they said, "Hey Tom, I'm stepping away from my job, and they're asking me to give some recommendations, and I would like to recommend you." And I thought, whoa. My first question right away was, did you call the right number? Did you dial the right digits here? Because Are you sure you're talking to the right Tom? Are you talking to the right Hamill? Are you talking to the right H? Maybe you met another H person and you dialed the wrong person. So I'm asking all these questions like, are you sure it's me that you mean? Oh, yeah, it's you that I mean. Well, let me ask you questions on how this would work. And I began to ask a series of questions. And later on, I actually got that job. And I asked the guy, what separated me from all the other candidates? I wasn't the only one trying out for that job or interviewing for the job. They were trying out for me as much as I was trying out for them. And so it was a series of kind of interviews and questions and different things like that. And I said, what was the difference? What set me apart? And I'll never forget, the guy said, you were the first one that didn't jump to conclusions of what this job looked like, but started asking questions about the nature of the job. You became inquisitive and you became curious about what the possibilities and the opportunities were. And that one feature set you apart. Questions, the power of them, the value of them, set us apart. Most people aren't brave enough to ask questions. Most people aren't curious enough to ask questions. They've fallen into default mode. They've fallen into that automation, conclusion, and assumption mode. And so they haven't really leveraged the power of questions. And so they're not really seeing the possibilities and the opportunities that are in front of them because they're not asking the what if and the how come and the why not questions. Why not me? Why not right now? Why not you? Why not now? If not you, then somebody, and who, right? Those kinds of things force our brains out of the assumption mode. I know that when I grew up in a really rough town, Stockton, California. Maybe you've heard of it. It's infamous around the world for various things that aren't necessarily true. It is a great place. There's lots of opportunities there and possibilities there. But the assumption is that if you come from Stockton, you're always going to be ghetto. You're always going to be this. You're always going to have the 209. That's the area code there that we would talk about there, right? But listen, by asking questions, you awaken possibilities, you awaken opportunities. Here's the other thing that questions do that are just really powerful. Questions are a guide to help unlock the possibilities or to discover the possibilities in someone else. Sometimes I sit with people and really instead of sharing my own journey, instead of sharing my own stuff that I'm going through, I just kind of ask them questions. What are they going through? What are they facing? What are they dreaming about? What are they looking forward to most in life? And there's actually a whole book about, it's called The Art of Asking Questions. And they give you like 101 questions to ask somebody. And so there's lots of tools out there that I would encourage you to go look up. I'm certainly not the expert. I'm just here as a guide to say, hey, if our brains are built for automation and assumption, we can conquer that by asking questions. And asking questions don't only awaken possibilities, opportunities in ourselves, but if we learn to ask the right questions, of others, if we learn to ask from the right motive questions of others, we can awaken other people to their possibilities. And let me just tell you this, you need other people to awaken to their identity, their destiny, in order for all of us to achieve the destiny we're meant to. We're connected that way. I need my neighbors to fully awaken to who they're supposed to be. I need my coworkers to fully awaken to who they're supposed to be. And it is so addicting when you ask someone the right question and it awakens them. It snaps them out of the assumption that this is as good as it gets for them. And you become a guide. You become an Obi-Wan Kenobi for them. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Perhaps your question is the only hope that someone has. They don't even know it yet. You might not even know it yet, but it's waiting for you to come alongside and knock them out of their preconceived notions and their assumptions that their brain has told them. This is all the value they bring to humanity. This is all the value they bring to society. But there's books in them, there's stories in them, there's songs and poems, and there's creativity in them, and there's possibility in them, and they're just waiting for you to bring the power of the right question to unlock the possibilities of who they are and the destiny that they're supposed to be. Hey, thanks so much for watching and listening. I hope that you're enjoying living the cultivated life. I'd love for you to check out our other episodes, our other resources on our website, ourcultivatedlives.com. questions.This.com, and you can check out that website where you'll get more information about the book. Also, you'll get more information about where to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, all of the above. You can find us at Tom Hamill or Our Cultivated Lives. We're trending there that way. And again, want to thank you for being a part of this community and this journey. We'd ask that you would share these episodes, share this story as we're trying to multiply this message to many more people so we can ask the right question and see them awakened to the cultivated life. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking us out today. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the incredible content we have coming out. Also, we'd love to hear from you in the comment section. We read those, we respond to those as we journey together in the cultivated life.